We are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2K Weekly Podcast. We're back once again for week 2 and college football finally here in full swing. We got a taste in week 0, but week 1 is upon us, and what a week it was. We have plenty to discuss here. Some notable storylines from me this week. One of the most electrifying players in college football in 2021, who spent most of 2022 injured, had his big return this season. Oregon's Andrew Burnett threw for 312 yards and 4 touchdowns in his return to lead the number 15 Ducks over Tulane. In the Penn State Nittany Lions and Alabama met for the first game of that year. For the first game on the Saturday of that year. And that one went to 4 overtimes between the Lions and the Crimson Tide. The Baylor Bears had a tough challenge against Michigan State in a ranked versus ranked matchup. Travis Heller finally made his much-hyped debut for the Clemson Tigers, leading them past the Day Show Truckers in the Chick-fil-A kickoff, and a brawl breaking out in Denver sees 3 players getting ejected during Colorado State and number 11 Colorado's face-off. Danny, you have any highlights of your own?
Yeah, I got a couple. For example, over the weekend we had our first FCS over FBS upset as Lafayette beat Ivy League team Penn 38-21.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I have to talk about is BC, Boston College, winning the Commonwealth Classic in an upset over UMass 34-10. A little surprising. I think another thing I have to say is about the Orange Blossom Classic. FAMU played against Hampton and Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing, at least, is Fox's big noon kickoff ended off with a very close win as number 14 Baylor won 31-30 against number 12
Michigan State. All right, well, we're going to start by talking about the 2 big games we had last night on stream. We're going to start in Nashville. The number 2 Virginia Tech Hokies took on the number 4 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, and the SEC has had a lot of discussion about the chaos of the league, both on the field and off, and if you're in the SEC, this is not a great showing on the national stage. Georgia Tech, believed by a distance to be the best team in the conference, absolutely demolished by Virginia Tech, 24-6 the final. And even that score makes it look closer than it truly was. Virginia Tech just making a statement out of one of the best teams in football, Danny.
Yeah, that Stanford, they won really close, and it's all because Michigan just
That's the wrong game.
Control the clock. Oh, wait, what? They were talking about which one?
We're talking about Virginia Tech.
Yeah. Virginia Tech was a really impressive team that game, and it was really shocking to see how much they controlled the game and how much they beat Georgia Tech. I would have thought Georgia Tech would have scored more, but Virginia Tech looks like they might be on their way to a natty if things go their way.
Mm-hmm. Pig Bear?
Pure domination by the Hokies. There's nowhere to around it. This is not a good time for the SEC. Could the Jackets be bolting soon?
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. Here's our next game. Stanford, the number 9 team in the country, taking on number 10 Michigan out of Arlington, Texas for the Cowboys Classic kickoff. One of the weirdest endings I've ever seen to a game. Stanford takes the lead late, or Stanford had taken the lead for the longest time. Michigan not clicking at all on offense for the majority of the first half. But by the start of the second, things started moving. The pendulum started swinging in their direction. They kept getting good scores and plenty of defensive stops. Stanford ended up taking the lead late. They got the ball with 40 seconds left. They ran it up a few yards, and then they just stalled. They stalled for... You got an echo there. They stalled for about 30 seconds, spiked the ball with 6 seconds remaining, and then heave it downfield to a diving catch, which is 20 yards short of the end zone. And that'll end it. Stanford 23, Michigan 21, a head scratcher if you're a Wolverines fan, Danny.
Yeah, Stanford really controlled the ball late, and I don't know what was going on with Michigan. They failed to control the clock. That's the best way to put it.
Pig Bear?
Yeah. What in the world was that, Michigan? I can manage a clock better than that.
Mm-hmm. Now we're going to move on to earlier in the day, Charlotte, North Carolina, where we had Penn State taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide. This one was a barn burner late. Penn State gets the ball with 8:47 to go. They score. Alabama tries to return the favor. Either late. A 50-yard field goal attempt, no good. Penn State's last-ditch effort, 16 seconds to go. Oh, and from their own 40, a big run from the quarterback, and that gave Penn State a crucial score. That tied the game. Alabama couldn't return it back. We go to overtime. Penn State wins the toss. They get it first. Immediately, they punch it into the end zone after 3 plays for a touchdown. Their PAT is no good. Alabama gets it. Or no, it is good. Pardon me. Alabama gets it back. They return the favor with a 7-yard halfback pitch. That point after is good. We're tied at 31, entering the second overtime. Alabama punches it in for a touchdown. Their PAT is through the uprights. Penn State returns the favor on a draw play. Now we're going to another overtime. Into overtime 3. This is where you have to go for 2. Penn State starts first. A quarterback run from the 6-yard line. The PAT quarterback keeper is stopped. Alabama now has a chance. A 14-yard pass to the end zone. Alabama scores. They try the PAT. They try throwing it, and it's just out of the hands, incomplete. We're going to a 4th overtime in Charlotte. Alabama starts off. They can't get anything going. A big sack for Penn State pushes them back to kick a 46-yard field goal, which just barely makes its way through. Alabama gets the lead. Meanwhile, and then on the first play from scrimmage for Penn State in the second overtime, or in the 4th overtime, it's just an easy dart. Gets some good blockage, and that's it. Penn State 50-47, the final from Charlotte. What a way to kick off, Danny.
Yeah, it was an amazing game between those two. I don't know if that's a good or bad sign for both these teams, but I definitely do think that this match between Penn State and Alabama is one of the best, and I'm hoping Penn State could use this momentum to go forward.
Let's move on now.
Sorry.
Bear?
I have a bunch of takeaways from this game. First and foremost, cannot ignore this. Alabama's not giving up. They've taken this thing. This shows Alabama's still here to ball. They still want to play. They're not like put their head in the dirt with this whole sanction thing. And Penn State, they are lucky. The Nittany Lions are lucky. Alabama had multiple opportunities to win, and they failed. So good job on Penn State. Alabama, keep your head up.
Very inspiring to see the players not going down without a fight. Let's move on to some quicker fire games. Number 1, Oklahoma State took down Tulsa on the road 62-24. That was an easy win for the Cowboys. They have Oregon next week, which will be anything but. Meanwhile, Temple falling on the road. The number 18 Owls losing to Coastal Carolina in Conway 36-23. Any takeaways in these games, Danny?
Yeah, I think the one I had the most to talk about is Coastal Carolina against Temple. That I know Temple, they did suffer a bit from both the transfer and NFL, but to lose against Coastal Carolina, that's a shocker. And Coastal Carolina, they might be looking like they're going to have another great season in the Sun Belt in their second year in the Sun Belt. Right. So better look out for the Chanticleers.
Pig Bear?
Surf, baby. Just good win, good program statement win for Coastal Carolina, and I mean, bringing Philly down to Horry County is very hard.
Mm-hmm. A quick mention of Oregon or of Michigan State and number 12 team in the country. They're heading to take on Baylor. Both teams had mixed results last year. One team won their conference and won the Rose Bowl. The other had higher expectations and fell short. All right, this seemed like Michigan State's game to win for the most part. All right, but Baylor clawed their way back in it. Quarterback took it himself and ran it in with 4:38 to go, and the Bears never looked back. A big pick, end of the day for Michigan State. The Bears winning 31-30 at home. Danny?
Yeah, I definitely do think Baylor put up a great fight, and they were able to win at the very end, and I'm proud for Baylor for doing so.
Big Bear?
Good job to Baylor getting the job done. Big noon kickoff, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, big noon kickoff. Yeah, good job. National TV win, really good job.
Our next game up, below the radar, another the radar game. Old Dominion and James Madison squaring off. This game went to overtime. JMU gets the ball first. An 18-yard pass followed up by a screenplay gave James Madison the first touchdown, which Old Dominion follows up right after. After Old Dominion ties with the PAT, we go to double overtime. Old Dominion forced to kick a field goal after their running attempts go nowhere. Meanwhile, James Madison gets the ball back. Rushing for a loss of 2. There's a penalty on the play on second down. They don't get any gain, but they lose 10 yards. So it becomes a 2nd and 22. They had a big gain that would have given them the first, but it falls out of the hands into 3rd down. They run it for 11 yards, and then they get a chance for a 43-yard field goal, and it's no good. Game, set, match. Old Dominion winning at home in double overtime, 47-44. The final score, Danny.
Yeah, it was a great game for that. A little under the radar, and also Old Dominion's first game within the SoCon. What a great way to start off your SoCon season.
Mm-hmm. Pig Bear?
Welcome to the SoCon, and what a game on CASN. I mean, just what a game. Good two Virginia schools, good rivals. Glad they're both SoCon members, and just what a good way to show my network. Not trying to promote it too much, but you got to have some here, you know.
Yeah. We had a bit of an interesting game. We have an interesting game out in Houston. The Cougars hosting Utah. Houston was dominant most of this game up until the 4th. Utah coming out and scoring 29 unanswered in the 4th quarter. This giving the Utes a 45-38 road win. Danny?
Yeah, it was just a great game, and I thought Houston was going to win at the very end, but alas, they didn't.
Pig Bear? Pig Bear?
Yes. I was on mute. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, just good job, Houston. No, not Houston. Utah, good job. How they're winning.
Mm-hmm. Now we're gonna run off some quick games to round us out. TCU getting a big win in a classic rivalry to start the year. Closer than the experts expected, but the number 6 Frogs beat SMU for the Iron Skillet 37-25. Georgia got all they could handle from Ohio State. They managed to pull away 40-34. UCF and Texas Tech went to 3 overtimes. Texas Tech was not going to lie down. They're faced with one of the toughest schedules in football, and they're taking it on in strides. But it was UCF who managed to pull away in the 3rd overtime, 41-33 the final for the number 13 Knights. A feisty game in Denver. A big sideline brawl left 3 players ejected, 2 from Colorado State and 1 from the Buffaloes. Disciplinary action will be taken later. That was about as much of a highlight as you could say for that game. 51-24, Colorado decimates the Rams. Andrew Burnett back in the fold for Oregon, as is Terrence Noel. And that offense is clicking like it never left. 36-18 the final. They beat Tulane. Oregon State was number 23 up until this week. They traveled down to Snapdragon Stadium and lost 44-27 to San Diego State. The Kansas Jayhawks get a great start to the season on a walk-off field goal over South Dakota, 34-33 at home. And the Boise State Broncos add a quality win to their belt. The number 3 team in the nation heads on the road and defeats defending WAC champions Idaho, 38-16. Any thoughts here? Any games I missed?
One I'd like to point out, the brawl. This just proves even these small rivalries you don't think are that big matter and care. They care about the rivalry in Fort Collins. They care about the rivalry in Boulder. That brawl just proves it. Now, obviously, I do not promote any fighting between the teams, but that's just saying even the small rivalries are intense rivalries.
Save that for hockey season, Danny.
Yeah, I do agree that those matches were great. I definitely do think that some of these teams did underperform their expectations, but luckily we still have the rest of the season.
All right. Now we're going to move on, talk about some of the favorites for the Heisman Trophy coming up. We're going to start with a player who had an incredible performance in Week 1. Andrew Burnett, quarterback from Oregon, finally back. He was a favorite along with his fellow running back Terrence Noel last season, though both of them missed significant time due to injury. With them back, it's likely we see them back in full swing. Meanwhile, a surprise name who had an incredible performance his first time out last week is Ty Benjamin, the quarterback out of Florida. He ended up torching the Hurricanes in their Week 0 matchup. Mike Williams is the halfback from Oklahoma State. He had an incredible game last week, and he's expected to be a contender. We'll have to see him in his performance against Oregon coming up. We're going to have a huge matchup there. Keith Hopkins, the halfback from Baylor, back in the fold in terms of Heisman Trophy consideration, as is Jabari Johnson. He won a national championship last year with Boise State. Can he add to his accolades with a Heisman Trophy? And then we have the 2 most prolific transfers in the offseason. Maurice Powers, a quarterback from Penn State, showing up big time in the game against Alabama. And Travis Heller, the quarterback from Clemson, put on a show against the show of the Dave Show Truckers. The odds-on favorite is that Burnett wins the Heisman, though I would not discount Travis Heller and his performance. Danny, who do you have?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to put it probably on Andrew Burnett, quarterback from Oregon. I feel like they have a really good chance this season.
All right, Pig Bear?
As much as y'all love to hear me talk about Heller, and just because I am a Clemson fan, I'm going to be nice, and I'm not going to be nice and be honest and say, Burnett got this. It's his job, and he's got that good matchup coming up, so.
All right. Looking at that, now we have our top 25 coming in. And Danny, do we have a graphic for it?
Yeah, I'm almost done with the graphic. Just give me like a few seconds, but
All right. The graphic you can find on the Top 25s channel in our 2KU in the TaipeiJoey101 Discord server. Don't forget to join in. We'll have a link provided for you. And we're going to be reading out our top 25. We're going to start with our top 5 and work our way down. And our top 5 doesn't see a lot of changes. Our top 3 remain the same. Number 1, Oklahoma State, still by a wide margin, followed by Virginia Tech now, and Boise State making up the top 3. And at number 4, we have LSU, who ended up creeping up quite a bit, thanks to some upsets below them. And USC wraps out the top 5. LSU got a win over Cal State Fullerton. USC beat Fresno State Danny?
Yeah, that I feel like those three, the top three, were obvious. They won their games. They improved well, and I'm sure they're all still eyeing for a national title.
Pig Bear?
Yeah, no change in the top three, but LSU is happy to be up here now.
Taking Georgia Tech's spot in the top 5. Number 6 is Stanford after their win over Michigan. Number 7, TCU, slipping a little bit, though though not by much. They're glad to still remain up at the top. They got that win over SMU. Number 8 is Colorado after the win over Colorado State. They are expected to be a pretty big force in the Big 12. Number 9 is Oregon after that win over Tulane. And number 10, falling after the loss, is Georgia Tech. They lost to VT at the beginning, at the end of last week. Danny?
Yeah, I definitely do think the team that is out of those group that looks the best might be, well, LSU played Cal State Fullerton, which wasn't really a big win, but I think out of those teams, the ones that had like the biggest win was probably Stanford.
All right, Pig Bear?
Yeah, Stanford got the biggest win out of all of them.
All right. Moving on outside the top 10, number 11, UCF. They creep up a little bit, though I expect them to not rise a lot thanks to their struggles against Texas Tech. At number 12, we have North Carolina. The Tar Heels got an easy win over Presbyterian. Number 13, Baylor, who got the big win over Michigan State. Surprised that they're not higher after that win. Number 14 is Georgia. Georgia beating Ohio State. Number 15, falling from number 10, is Michigan. Danny?
Yeah, I definitely do think that some of these teams are going to look to rise up. I'm really hoping UCF does rise up, but can't be winners, can't be choosers.
Pig Bear?
Yeah, North Carolina Tar Heels a good team to look out for here.
Right.
And I do UCF will do pretty good this season, to be honest, Danny. This is going to be a good season for the Knights.
Move on here. Number 16, falling from number 7 after their loss in week 0, is Illinois. They lost to Missouri. Number 17, with the win over Dave Show, is Clemson. Number 18, riding off that week 0 win over New Mexico State, is Northern Illinois. Number 19, falling quite a bit after a loss to Maryland, is Connecticut. And number 20, Michigan State, falling after the loss to Baylor. Danny?
Yeah, I definitely do think the most disappointing of these teams is Illinois. You lost at home. You're favored by quite a bit, and you're dropping. Kind of shocking, but I guess this is what it is.
All right, Pig Bear?
You can't lose to Maryland at home. Come on, UConn.
All right, we now move on to our most coveted spots, the final 5 in. At number 21, ranked, is Rutgers, who won in week 0 over Princeton. Number 22 is the aforementioned Maryland with the win over UConn. Number 23, ranked here, is Coastal Carolina, who got a upset win over reigning Big East champs Temple. Number 24 is Auburn, who had a statement win over Cal, an absolutely dominant performance on the road. And number 25 with the win over Houston is Utah. Danny?
Yeah, I do think some of these teams, they're a little bit shocking. Like, I don't really feel that comfortable with Auburn just yet, but who knows? Maybe they'll be a surprise team in the SEC West.
Pig Bear?
Yeah, good job once again, Coastal Carolina. Helmet sticker of the week for me, 100%. Coastal Carolina gets that helmet sticker. Good job. Having the Big East champions come to your place and you pull off the upset. Good job.
All right.
Myrtle Beach. Well, they're in college, but
wrapping up the rest of the next 5 up, Missouri sitting on the outside looking in, followed by New Mexico State, Central Michigan, Louisville, and San Diego State. Now we're going to move on to
I also have the remaining of our next teams up.
All right.
Yep. Our next teams up includes Missouri, New Mexico State, Central Michigan, Louisville, San Diego State, Memphis, Florida, Temple, and Stephen F. Austin just barely keeping themselves afloat.
Something we didn't mention is Stephen F. Austin losing this week, or yesterday, to San Jose State, as well as Memphis losing a game that technically hasn't happened yet to Arkansas State.
Well, it's happened right now in the real world.
Yeah.
What is happening now? Because we haven't posted out the score.
We're going to look at our next matchups here on week 2. We're going to start with a game on Thursday. Number 18, Northern Illinois will host Illinois State, and the Huskies are favored by 1,000,000. Give me Northern Illinois in this game. The current points are minus 23.5. Danny?
Yeah, give me Northern Illinois to win it. It's going to be too much for competition.
Pig Bear?
Not so kidding. Northern Illinois by plus the points.
On Friday, Southern Mississippi, who had an overtime loss to Louisiana Tech, heads to Tulane to take on the SEC's Green Wave. Tulane is favored by 5.5 for that Friday night game. I'm liking the Green Wave to win this one. Their performance last week, not really indicative of how good that Green Wave team I think will be this season. Give you Tulane. Danny?
Yeah, give me Tulane to win. I know they had to play against a really tough team in Oregon, and they're always going to be a tough team, especially when you have to go to Eugene. So I think they're going to bounce back and beat Southern Miss. Southern Miss is going to go 0-2 this season.
All right, Pig Bear?
Upset. Southern Miss goes into Nolans and gets it done.
All right, now we're going to take a look at San Jose State and Eastern Michigan. An interesting game on Friday. Eastern getting close to winning the MAC West, though they lost their last game to Northern Illinois. The Eastern Michigan Eagles are favored 3.5 in this game, though I wouldn't discount San Jose State. I think the Spartans are going to be a sleeper team this season. Give me San Jose State in an upset. Danny?
Give me Eastern Michigan. It's at their place, and it's going to be a little bit of a tough trip for San Jose State, but give me Eastern Michigan to win it close.
All right, Pig Bear?
Eastern Michigan close.
All right. We're going to move on now. Florida State and Alabama. This is going to be a contentious game for sure. Last time these two teams met was in the Music City Bowl, a game that has since been vacated by the NCAA. And Florida State has not forgotten about it. Their last time playing was in the regular season. Florida State won 33-10. The Noles are certainly going to remember. Alabama is the favorite in this game, -5. I think the Seminoles get it done, though. Danny?
Yeah, give me Florida State to win. Alabama, they're a bit on a little down year with all these allegations and all the penalties and everything like that. And I believe Florida State, they are angry from that Music City Bowl, and I'm sure they want to beat them in their place.
All right, Pig Bear?
What's that John Anderson song? Blah, blah. I'm embarrassing myself on here, aren't I? Yeah, Florida State wins. Florida State, woo. Go Noles.
All right. South Carolina, Missouri played last season. The Tigers won 33-27. Both these teams are 1-0. South Carolina beating Kentucky, but Missouri on the high of beating Illinois. Missouri is favored by 6.5 in their first game at home in Columbia. Give me the Tigers to win on Saturday, Danny.
Yeah, give me Missouri to win. I know the Battle of Columbia, it's kind of like a small little rivalry for these guys, but I'm sure it's still going to be a fun matchup. And both give me Missouri to win.
Big Bear?
Missouri wins. Not too much around it.
All right. We now move on to Virginia, where James Madison, after a tough loss on the road in Richmond, takes on the Dukes will take on Coastal Carolina now with a ranking beside them. The Chanticleers beating Temple last week. They're definitely an exciting team to watch. This is going to be an interesting game. Coastal favored by 10.5. Give me the shots to win it, Danny.
Yeah, give me the chance to win it as well. They're looking like they're gonna be impressive, and I'm sure they're going to battle their way into James Madison.
Big Bear?
Yeah, mullets, baby. Go Chanticleers.
All right. We move on now to Bloomington, where Indiana, after a down year in 2022, after the most high of years possible in 2021, the Indiana Hoosiers will be hosting the number 4 Clemson Tigers into town. The Tigers getting a win over Cal State Fullerton yesterday. LSU favored by 6.5 on the road. I like the Tigers in this, Danny.
I'm gonna go with the upset. Give me Indiana. They're playing at home. They want to win big, and I'm sure if they were to win this, they would instantly project yourself upward.
All right, Pig Bear.
I don't know why mine was somewhere else for a second, but I thought you said Clemson there for a second. The number 4 Clemson Tigers. I'm honored, but no, LSU should go into Bloomington and win. I'm pretty confident in that.
They're not number 4 yet.
Not yet.
To Ann Arbor, a now infuriated Michigan team will host Oklahoma at their debut in the Big House. The Wolverines are favored by 3.5. I'm picking Michigan here, Danny.
Yeah, give me Michigan to win it. It should be a interesting game at least, but I think Michigan's going to win it in the end.
Pig Bear?
Michigan plus the points.
All right. We move on now to a Big East showdown, the final Big East showdown between Rutgers and Boston College. At 1 p.m., the number 21 ranked Scarlet Knights are favored by 4.5. Though I like how Boston College played in their first game, and I think they'll be playing pretty well here. Give me the Eagles, Danny.
Give me Rutgers to win it. I think Rutgers has the better talent, and I believe Rutgers is going to win it at the end.
All right, Pig Bear.
Massachusetts versus New Jersey showdown. Boston College got the upset, and they carry that momentum. Go Eagles.
All right. Up next here, Rutgers won the last showdown between these two teams, 48-20. Up next, Illinois, a team who dropped, facing off against another team falling because of an upset. Oregon State, who lost to San Diego State yesterday. The Illini are favored by 7.5. I'm going to pick Illinois to get a win on the road to avenge losing at home. Danny?
Illinois is going to win this. I believe they're now playing angry. They're going to play wounded animal mode, and they're going to try their best to win this.
Pig Bear?
Oh, yeah. Northern Illinois. Gotta do this.
This is just Illinois.
Oh, Illinois. Haha. My bad, y'all. Again, tiredness. I had a personal injury this morning, so sorry if I'm a little out of it. But yeah, Illinois, they're mad. They lost the arch rivalry, correct?
Yes.
Yes, they did. So yeah, they've got that lingering over. They should come out. So all firing all cylinders. Illinois, big.
All right. But I think someone's winning even bigger in our next game. VMI out of the SoCon will be taking on Virginia Tech, the number 2 team in the country. VT is favored by 31 here. The question is not if Virginia Tech will win. Will Virginia Tech beat that number, Danny?
I believe Virginia Tech is going to win this, and I think they're going to go over. Last time they played, Virginia Tech won 31-19, and I believe they're going to go greater than that.
Pig Bear?
Oh, tough one. Nailbiter won in Blacksburg.
Really?
With 2 Virginia schools. Old rivalry, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Biter on the opening kickoff. Maybe. Virginia Tech plus the points.
All right. A Keystone Classic here. Pitt heading out to college. I forgot.
Station.
Happy
State
Valley.
called. Yeah, heading out to Happy Valley. Thank you for catching me there. State College, Pennsylvania is what I was trying to say. To take on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Penn State off a big win against Alabama, our favorite 7.5 against their old rivals in Pitt. Give me the Lions here, Danny.
Give me Penn State. The last time they played, Penn State won 27-11. I believe Penn State's going to win at home. They're going to have an energetic crowd, and I'm sure they might be looking at potentially being ranked.
Big Bear?
As a partial West Virginia fan, I don't like either team. I have a friend who likes both. Give me Penn State. They're at home. Crazy environment.
All right. Baylor, off the heels of a big win against Michigan State, now has to deal with a ranked Auburn next week. Baylor is favored by 5.5 on the road against the Tigers. And this game, I think, has a lot more implications on national championship play than I think a lot of people are giving credit for. I like both of these teams going forward to have good seasons, and only one has to win, though. But give me Baylor in this contest. Danny?
Last time these two teams played, it was in Baylor. Baylor won 2023. Baylor was ranked. Auburn was not. This time, give me Auburn to win. I believe they're going to pull off the upset.
Big Bear?
It's at home. Weagle, War Damn Eagle. Go Auburn.
Picking Auburn in an upset. Now we move on. Cincinnati heading to Morgantown to take on West Virginia. The Mountaineers favored 3.5 in this one. Both of these teams will be conference foes next season as Cincinnati joins the Big East in 2024. Danny?
I'm sure it's going to be a really good matchup for both these teams. Cincinnati excited to join their nearby neighbor in the Big East. And I think they're going to pull it off. Give me Cincinnati.
All right. Pig Bear?
Before we get into this game, this is a smart move by the Big East. You're branching into the Midwest. You kind of get that a little bit with West Virginia and Pitt, but you have Washington, D.C. with West Virginia, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, New York City. Now you get Cincinnati in the Ohio and the Kentucky market. Really smart idea, but it's at home. West Virginia lays the hammer. Let's go Mountaineers.
Don't forget they also returned to Florida with UCF and USF. West Virginia is favored 3.5, if I didn't mention that already. An interesting unranked matchup here. Wisconsin heading on the road to take on UCLA. Wisconsin, under new quarterback Mark Buchanan, had a big win over St. John's, avenging an upset last season. In UCLA, I believe, defeated Nevada at home.
Yep.
Wisconsin only favored by 2.5 in this matchup. It's going to be a close one. Give me the Badgers on the road. Danny?
Give me the Badgers as well. They are looking much more impressive. And I think Wisconsin will go into the Rose Bowl and try to rekindle some old memories.
All right. It's been a while since Wisconsin's played in the Rose Bowl, Danny? Or Pig Bear?
Jump around.
This will be an exciting one. Some smaller schools here. FAU taking on Stephen F. Austin. Both had pretty good years last season. SFA at home is favored by 4.5. I'm going to take a bit of an audible, though. Give me the Owls in an upset, Danny.
FAU, give me the Owls to win it. I think they're going to go crazy and make this be the third straight loss for Stephen F. Austin.
Big Bear?
Stephen F. Austin had the hype. They want to get back in, and that clicks in them. That clicks in them this weekend. Stephen F. Austin.
Mm-hmm. Both these teams losing their last times out. FAU lost in overtime to USF. Stephen F. Austin losing to San Jose State. Now we move on to the Cy-Hawk Trophy. Iowa State heading up to Iowa City to take on the Hawkeyes. Iowa favored by 10.5, one of the largest lines of separation in this rivalry since 2017. Give me Iowa plus the points, Danny.
Last time these two teams played in 2022, Iowa State won it 32-10. Iowa wins it.
All right. Pig Bear?
Iowa, but Iowa State covers.
All right. Here's a matchup that I don't think Clemson should sleep on. The Tigers returning home after a successful trip to Atlanta. They'll be playing Georgia Southern. The points have Clemson by 17. I don't think it's going to be that separate, or I don't think it's going to be that that big of a deficit. Georgia Southern, as we've seen last season and this season, they know how to shut down a prolific offense, as they did against teams like William and Mary last year. I think Clemson wins, but Georgia Southern makes it an interesting affair. Danny?
Give me Clemson to win. I think it might be close until halftime, where then Clemson will just take it away.
All right, Pig Bear?
I agree with Danny on that, but I think Georgia Southern will cover, but it'll be like 16. Clemson will win like 36-20.
All right. Confident with a score, even.
Yeah, 36-20. Georgia Southern misses an extra point along the way.
Toledo taking on Michigan State, and the number 20 Spartans return home after a loss to Baylor. MSU's favored by 13.5. Who you have here?
Give me Michigan State to win it close, but I believe they're going to win it.
All right, Pig Bear?
Yeah, Michigan State, mad after the big noon loss. They win it.
All right. Now up next, we have a match between Houston and Texas Tech. These two teams played each other last year, Houston winning 38-31. They'll play a lot more next season as Houston joins the Big 12 next year. Houston on the road, favored by 15.5. I'm going to take the bet here. Give me Houston to win it. Danny?
As you mentioned before, last time they played in Houston, Houston won 30-31. It was a close affair. Texas Tech has lost 8 in a row. Last weekend, they showed a bit of life. Give me Texas Tech to win it and break the streak.
Wow. Pig Bear?
I don't entirely agree with you, but Tech keeps it very close. Houston by a touchdown at most.
All right. Two now unranked teams that were hovering around the rankings. Central Michigan, who got a 13-9 win over Wyoming, taking on New Mexico State, who lost in Vegas to Northern Illinois in Week 0. New Mexico State is upset after that loss. They're favored by 7.5. I think they go further beyond that. Give me New Mexico State by 15. Danny?
Give me New Mexico State to win. I think they're going to be angry. They want to win, and I'm sure they're going to put out all their anger from Northern Illinois on Central Michigan.
All right, Pig Bear?
Chippewas, crazy upset. Calling it now. Low scoring affair.
Up next, we have a ranked matchup between North Carolina and Georgia Tech. The number 12 Tar Heels won the last matchup between these two teams, 38-30. Georgia Tech this season is favored by 3.5. I'm going to pick the Tar Heels in this matchup after a really messy showing that Georgia Tech had against Virginia Tech. Danny?
I think last time these two teams played, it was actually in a neutral site game. They kicked off the season in 2021. North Carolina won 30-30. I believe Georgia Tech, they're going to improve on their mistakes, and I believe Georgia Tech's going to win it at home.
All right, Pig Bear?
Atlanta, Georgia. Home of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets of the Southeastern Conference versus the North Carolina Tar Heels of the Atlantic.
You got it.
Sorry. Think about some things happen in real life. SMU. What? We live in fantasy land here. This is the real world. This is the true real world. But as much as I want to say North Carolina, Georgia Tech, close.
A point I'd like to bring up, though, Georgia Tech's big kryptonite last season was winning in Atlanta against ranked teams. They couldn't do it twice against LSU. But we'll move on now to an interesting matchup that gets better by the day. TCU, number 7 in the nation, taking on number 25, Utah. TCU won the last matchup between these two schools, 31-22. TCU favored by 10.5. I don't think they cover. I don't think they win. I am all in on the Utah Utes. They had a down year last season, but don't forget they won the Fiesta Bowl in 2021, and this team is still full of fight. Give me Utah in an upset, Danny.
Give me TCU to win it. They looked really good against a pretty good SMU team, but give me TCU to win it close. Give me really close.
I think I could see these two teams playing in the conference championship. Pig Bear?
TCU favored against from the Rockies. Where have I heard this one before? Leon Sandcastle. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say TCU though. I'm gonna use my head here.
All right. We're going to move on now to Texas and Arkansas, old Southwest Conference rivals. Last year, Texas won a close showdown 24-20. Texas is favored by 13 this year. I don't think it's that much of a difference, but give me Texas to win this one on the road. Danny?
Yeah, give me Texas to win this one as well. I think they're a lot better than Arkansas. Last time they played, Texas won 24-20, a closer matchup, but I think they're going to definitely win this game.
Pig Bear?
Give me an upset here. Give me the Arkansas Razorbacks. Woo
All
Pig
right.
Suey.
Up next, I'm going to hand it off to Danny for our Dave Show tangent here. Danny?
Yeah. This weekend, Air Force will be traveling to Orlando to play against the Truckers. It'll be a noon kickoff. It's their military appreciation kickoff for Dave Show. Last time these two teams played, Dave Show won it 27-10 in Air Force at Air Force's stadium. Today, or this weekend, Dave Show is favored by 7.5 points. Give me the Truckers to win it close.
All right. Dave Show coming off a loss last week to Clemson in Atlanta. Give me the Truckers. Pig Bear?
Roll Truckers.
All right. We're all picking Dave Show in this one. A matchup between Big East and Big Ten. Syracuse heading to South Bend to take on Notre Dame. The Irish are favored by 5.5. Give me Notre Dame close in this one. Danny?
Give me Notre Dame to win this. They're at home. It's going to be a big matchup, and I'm sure all their fans are going to be energetic to see this game.
All right. Pig Bear?
Yeah, give me Notre Dame.
All right, an interesting story from last season. There were 4 losses on the Stanford Cardinals schedule. 2 were to USC. 2 were to, I believe. But one of their losses was Hawaii at the beginning of the year. The Hawaii Rainbow Warriors hosted the Cardinal last year and pulled off a major upset. Stanford now has the home game as the number 6 team in the nation against the Rainbow Warriors. Stanford is favored by 10.5. They're going to get their revenge, I think. Give me Stanford invigorated with a win over Michigan. Danny?
Yep. Stanford had 4 losses last season. 1 to Hawaii, 2 to USC, and 1 to Michigan State in the Rose Bowl. So they haven't really had a good amount of success as last season, but I believe they get the revenge on Hawaii this season.
All right. Pig Bear?
Hawaii doesn't get it done again. Stanford wins on the mainland.
All right. We have one more
Hawaii
game here on the... What was that?
I'm changing my pick. Go Rainbow Warriors. 2 years in a row.
All right. On the Audible, we have one more game on our rundown here. Memphis, now unranked after a loss to Arkansas State, heads on the road to number 3 Boise State. The Broncos favored by 17.5 in this one. I think Boise covers. Give me the Bronx. Danny?
Yeah, give me Boise State to win it. They're at home. They're going to have a loud crowd, and I'm sure they're still going to be energetic off their national title.
As that reminds me, Boise State will be unveiling their national championship banner that year. Pig Bear?
Yeah, Boise State got all the hype. Wasn't gonna be a ranked game, but Memphis. Give them with Mississippi State because they used to be Memphis State.
I will actually quickly mention Mississippi State ending a long winless skid. They got a win over Washington, but continue.
Yeah, but Memphis in town. But yeah, you should take care of business.
All right.
Boise State.
And now we cap off with our stream game coming up this Saturday. From Stillwater, Oklahoma, the #1 team in the nation, the Oklahoma State Cowboys, are at home after a big win over Tulsa. They'll be taking on the #9 Oregon Ducks. The Ducks got a win at home over Tulane last week. Oklahoma State is favored by 10.5. I think this game remains close throughout, and I like Oklahoma State to remain the #1 team in the nation. Danny?
I'm going to tell you this. It's not going to be still in Stillwater. Give me Oklahoma State to win it at home.
All right. Pig Bear?
Pokes, baby, pokes. Oklahoma State wins it.
We're all picking Oklahoma State. So make sure to tune in on Saturday for that. That's going to do it for us here. Don't forget to join the Discord. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this video and our others. We'll be back on Saturday with the game. And keep in touch with us. It's so long from the 2